Pole sitter, perhaps with a chip on his shoulder, as Lefty said, Brian Farnham in the number 15 out of the Northeast Ohio region in a silver bullet. Let's have a quick look at the track map as the field making its way into the roller coaster.
Yeah, the track here really features the first sector, downhill braking, could be 3, could be 4 wide on this opening lap. They'll hopefully get it all figured out by the time they get around left hook there at 4A. They come around the 4B, 5A complex, flat out, down the snake, down that short chute under the bridge and head to the climbing S's, that 7, 8, 9 complex, and then throw these cars in around South Bend, probably the most treacherous corner on the course. Very fast, off-cambered downhill. But the most critical one for a fast lap, turn 12, Oak Tree, because of the Madison Avenue straight that follows. There'll be a lot of drafting. We'll see who wants to pop out onto the wet pavement to make a pass there as they come up to the roller coaster at 14, all the way down, kick it through Hog Pen, and down the front straight.
Hitch those belts just a little bit tighter, ladies and gentlemen. You're in for a good one here as the Formula Vee field nicely formed up. These cars making their way slowly down the front straightaway. There's the acceleration cone there. They are beginning to go as the green flag flies in. What a jump from Brian Farnham as he gets away quickly, making his way down toward turn number 1. He just left Andrew Whitson behind. Is all by himself as they spread out 4 wide behind
Scaler.
him. That's Scaler. You're absolutely right. I stand corrected.
Scaler jumping all the way up into the second spot there. Very aggressive on the opening move. Farnham, though, it almost looks like everyone is sleeping. There is that acceleration cone. They can't accelerate till they get to it. The green flag may not come out when they reach it, but if they didn't, he took the opportunity to go, as that is the 48 spinning. That's Chris Jennerjohn.
Yeah, the veteran spinning out of contention there. He's going to have to rejoin at the very back of the field. Watch for Trevor, multiple champion of this class.
Yeah, 2020 Road America, he took the win there. Was in the top 5 last year, so that's going to hurt his opportunities early on. That's what happens. You get offline on dry tires and wet conditions, and it gets very slippery. Now looking at Scaler with, of course, our pole sitter in front, Farnham, and it looks like one of the Winstons, Andrew, there in the 3rd spot.
They are nose to tail coming up through the climbing S's for the first time. This is just a pretty good preview of what we're going to see all race long. They will draft together like this, run side by side occasionally, as these drivers know each other well. The cars are very evenly matched, all based, of course, on the air-cooled 1200cc Volkswagen power plant and Volkswagen running gear. You can see the shock towers sticking out from the side, as it looks like our pole sitter was just a little bit wide as he exits Oak Tree for the first time. Look at them all lined up, line astern, heading down the long back straightaway. Madison Avenue, they call it. Climb the hill, and now popping out for a pass opportunity. Scaler going for the lead here as they crest the hill and head down toward Ogden. 3 wide now as Andrew Whitson goes to the outside.
What a run.
And Whitson's going to take it. What a move by Whitson. You can see how powerful the draft is as they head up to a roller coaster and down the hill once again.
He used the double draft there, was able to be behind Scaler. When Scaler popped, he followed him, still had a good draft then coming off of Brian Farnham, our pole sitter. And for Winston, who is a 2-time champion in this class, a little wide down Hog Pen, trying to still get some heat in those tires. But what a great move and opportunity there. But it's hard to break away in this field because the draft and the underpowered cars really makes it difficult to do. But looking at the rest of this top 5, very familiar with each other. If anything, the wild card there might be Scaler, who has run a couple of times here. He ran Stephen Auer's car actually at Road America in 2020. This is now his car. And maybe not quite as familiar with the others like Farnham, Abbott, and Winston's as others are with each other.
Andrew Thomas Abbott ducking to the inside of the 27 of Zachary Wilson, taking over that place momentarily. That little bit of drafting and the lead changes that we saw. Again, it's not going to be the last one you're going to see in this race for sure. It's Andrew Thomas Abbott now right on the back of our pole sitter. Brian Farnham was fallen back into 3rd spot after leading away from the start.
That's a lot of spray coming off the back one of that. It's stranded right there. That is the number 2.
Gerald Callahan out of the New England region. And he is stuck. I don't think he's got enough traction in that wet grass. Very narrow tires, as you can see here. And that definitely is not the formula for getting that car moving. I think he has got it.
Didn't see where he was. It could be at the outside of 1. It's a favorite place to go off, so to speak, and it does require a bit of a climb to get back to the track. And he's stuck out there. That's a treacherous spot, and it could mean full course yellow. We'll keep our eyes out for that. As look at the gap now that Winston Andrew has got on Scaler and the rest of the pack behind him. Winston showing he's able to get heat in the tires early, and that's a big deal in these things. With his big advantage to get some heat, but when he gets in this back straight, if behind them Scalar Farnham and Zach Whitson work together a little bit, they could actually catch up.
Exactly. I think what you'll see is that they'll form into a draft and try to draft down and make up that gap that Andrew Whitson has drawn on the field in this early stage here. That's exactly what they're doing. Great work by Gerald Callahan. He got that car running, and he's back underway at the back of the pack.
That was Hog Pen. That was Hog Pen. He was off. That's the other favorite spot for drivers to leave the surface. And look at this. Popping out Farnham now, and then Andrew Thomas Abbott thinking he can maybe get in. So they are doing a little bit of leapfrogging to try and maximize their straightaway speed. To give you the numbers, Andrew Whitson by himself, 108 miles an hour. Farnham, 111. Zach Whitson, 113 miles an hour in the draft behind all of them. So yeah, it's worth a good 4 or 5 miles an hour straightaway speed. Look, I see dirt coming up out front.
Yeah, somebody dropped the wheel. And
that's your leader.
It was the leader. The 12 of Andrew Whitson has gone off all the way to the tire barrier, shaking his head. Obviously, he is not happy with making that mistake. And he's got the same problem in another driver up. That's the 20 car. That's Jeffrey Filipkowski, as he is out. As they, once again, the hog pen bites him. And look at Andrew Thomas Abbott catching it. He did not go off, as the 2 cars behind him did. Brian Farnham will inherit the lead as the 12 of Zachary, excuse me, as the 12 car.
Oh, now the 76 is off, and that's Lauren Braylor.
Yeah, the same spot. Lauren Braylor going off at Hog Pen.
One of our rookies here in this field. I think our data had one of the rookies marked that was not a rookie. Steve Whitson has run a couple of runoffs in the past. Our data had that incorrect, so we apologize for that. But this is a rookie, Lauren, able to get the thing going. That does look like turn 1, getting back on the track there. But now look at these front 2 with Farnham and Andrew Thomas Abbott pulling away a little bit now from Zach Whitson.
Zach Whitson and Mitchell Ferguson now up into 4th spot.
And something may have happened to Scalar, because he's back now into 5th. He was up there with the front 3 there with Abbott and Zach Whitson. Scalar now back to 5th. He is still on the move, but lost some ground.
Big battle here into Oak Tree.
A little communication going there, a little arm wave.
Yep.
Kind of pointing to each other. That's what you got to do in these cars. You have to work together. You got to find a buddy to be fast as a pair, because they both know that Andrew Thomas Abbott and Brian Farnham are starting to pull ahead. So for Zach and Mitch Ferguson doing everything they can to work together. And it's a little bit of snaking already happening with Farnham trying to shake Andrew Abbott up in the front.
There goes Whitson as he drafts around Mitchell Ferguson. Ferguson doing a great job. He qualified back in row 5. He's already up looking for a bronze medal here in early going.
Zach Whitson's trap speed 5 miles an hour faster than Brian Farnham's, who's out there in the front all by himself. So this bit of a working together between Zach Whitson and Mitchell Ferguson, working well for both of them.
On the last lap, Andrew Thomas Abbott setting the fast lap of the race so far, but Brian Farnham pulling away from him just a bit on this lap. We'll see if that's going to hold as Farnham comes across the line to complete race lap number 3. Plenty of activity in this one in the early stages here as the field begins to settle in. Across the stripe comes Farnham, 220.176. His personal best, but not quite as quick as Andrew Thomas Abbott on the last lap. This battle for 3rd is a dandy. Zachary Whitson and Mitchell Ferguson, nose to tail, as they come through turn number 1, known as the horseshoe. Staying that way as they head down toward NASCAR.
Yeah, working well together so far, Zach Whitson. Zach, of course, normally working well with his brother, who we had seen go off the Hog Pen. So Zach's used to this sort of game of, got to swap some spots. You got to use the draft at the advantage of each other to see what you can do. Unfortunately, the 2 of them, they did go quick. Mitch Ferguson last time by at 220.3 relative to Farnham's 221.6. So they did take a second or so out of that lead. They are closing quickly to try to make this a 4-car race. Andrew Thomas Abbott less than a second, so he can sniff some draft off the back of Farnham. Farnham, though, setting that good pace. And that goes to what Hayward had said at the beginning, re-engineered the car, really worked on making this thing optimized. The amount of work that he and his father, Mark, have put together this year really paying off. You can see the pace by himself, not giving anything up to Andrew Abbott behind him.
That's the only silver bullet in the field, and he has the silver bullet right at the moment. But it's a long way to go as Andrew Thomas Abbott, just a little bit of great smoke as he locks it up. These two doing exactly what they need to do. Zachary Whitson and Mitchell Ferguson hooking up in the draft. They're not battling each other side by side. They realize they can run those two down if they work together. as you can see.
Oh, but that's Scaler off again.
Scaler's
Looks like he may have caught,
again,
I would have
yeah.
either caught some dirt or the wet curbing there at the exit of Oak Tree, but he had an issue, I was told. His was a bit of dirt coming in through Hog Pen. That's where he lost his position in the front three. This is going to push him all the way to the back as he's out there in the grass with these two. Look at Mitch Ferguson and Zach Whitson are working very well to, again, trim a couple of tenths. They're going to be back of Andrew Thomas Abbott here very shortly, and then we'll have three trying to catch one.
Veteran Roger Siebenall are leading a train of cars. Trevor Carmody, Russell Frederick, Steve Whitson, Donnie Isley working their way forward.
Slide for Zach Whitson.
Mitchell Ferguson really drifted it right out to the edge, but kept it together. They stay locked up nose to tail, and look at the ground they've made up on Andrew Thomas Abbott, who's running all by himself. They come down the front straightaway here, and they're going to close right up on his back wing, I should say, on his gearbox. There are no wings on these cars. There goes Whitson as he dives to the inside of Andrew Thomas Abbott, and he'll take that spot.
Andrew Abbott very smart, letting him go, get to the inside, because they know they all have to work together to catch Barnum. Barnum was fast all week long, was the quickest in every session of qualifying on the pole, so they know that by himself he's got very strong pace, so they're going to have to work together to catch him. Now about 2 seconds back. Zach just turned, no surprise there, fastest lap of the race at a 19.8. For Zach Whitson working together with Mitch Ferguson. And that was a second or so faster than Barnum. So again, multiple cars faster than single.
Falling back just a little bit, that's the 23 car of Russell Fredericks. He is in a great battle with Roger Siebenall and Trevor Carmody. That's Trevor Carmody, I believe, in the zebra stripe machine. He was in front of the 23 of Fredericks as they crossed the line, but Fredericks able to get by him there at turn number 1. Right behind them is the veteran Siebenaller. Steve Whitson recovering from his spin on the front straightaway. Donnie Isley right there in that battle as well. And a couple seconds back to Jeffrey Vallejo. They go side by side, and there's that swap again as Russell Fredericks back in front.
Siebenaller, one of the veterans, 33 prior starts at the runoffs, most of them here in the V. This car was built in 1991 and has run every runoffs. He loaned this car out twice to different drivers, most recently to Alex Scaler in 2020 as Roger had some family things, couldn't make it to 2020, wanted to make sure the car got here, and here he is back in the car in the, of course, in the V Hall of Fame, three-time champ in this class. One of the wily veterans here playing amongst the youth and showing that he still has that speed.
Absolutely right. This battle we're following with Trevor Carmody in the 7 out in front. Siebenaller drafting up right on the back of Russell Fredericks. Pops out. Siebenaller going for the position as they're on the inside. Siebenaller will draft in front. Fredericks drops right in behind him.
And behind him there, that looks like the 30 of Donnie Isley going around. I think that was Steve Whitson in the yellow number 18.
Steve Whitson also starting deep in the pack, back in 17th starting position.
One of 4 Whitstons in the field. Between brothers and uncles and fathers and everything else here in the Whitston group. They've got a big compound there in the paddock, all sharing each other's data and working together well. And for Steve here, I believe he's now in his 3rd runoff start, mixing it up right there with Donnie Isley. Now back to his inside, going down to 1.
Side by side, 3 wide it looks like, just behind him as Siebenaller is going to move around Trevor Carmody to take over that spot. So Carmody falls back into 6th spot. Siebenaller up to 5th. Whitson still going side by side at the back there. As the 23 of Russell Fredericks.
More hand signals this time out of Steve Whitson, showing Frederick to maybe just hang on back there. Or that's Isley right behind him. Yeah,
right.
Tell him to just stay in line. Hold on, we're going to get this.
Their way into the snake. Knowledgeable drivers there are going to line up with their way through this run up the hill. It's pretty much a 1-car line. These cars are all about momentum. It's the 19 car off. Now James Brookshire, one of our rookies. He started back in 28th position. He overcooks it there at turn 4, able to get it back underway.
And gotten himself up to 11, so a lot of movement for him, able to really make up ground. Unfortunately, that all just went away there at turn 4. Left hook. Very slippery part of the track, not much line choice there. As our leader, Barnum, still holding a gap, but watch these guys behind. Andrew Thomas Abbott working really well with Zach Whitson. These guys This is all coordinated. This is all working together. This isn't just fighting for positions, because fighting right now will slow you down. But coordinating your passes is faster. I tell you, Farnham, personal best sector 1 was quicker than the pack behind him the last time through. He was, though, about a half a second slower than the pack. The pack is gaining as Andrew Thomas Abbott sliding and now coming around Hog Pen. So it's Farnham doing everything he can to tuck everything in, slipstream, get on through. That pack, though, needs to continue to work together as we get to the halfway point. The time may be running out to try and close that gap and get into his draft.
Look at this, Andrew Whitson. Andrew Whitson back in 19th position, just in fast lap of the race. Trying to make up as we've got a pass as Andrew Thomas Abbott goes side by side with Zach Whitson. Abbott's going to get it done. Whitson falls back in single file. Right behind him, Mitchell Ferguson in black car. He's going to line up line astern as they work their way through NASCAR.
I would have thought maybe be a little bit more patient with those kind of things. They're going to lose Farnham if they don't.
And our leader, Brian Farnham, already coming up on the back of traffic, so that's going to be a factor the rest of the way. An exciting battle going on just behind the leader. Let's take just a moment to thank some of the partners making this broadcast possible.
Focus, guys. We're in a race to the finish, okay?
Here's where the rubber meets the road.
These initiatives move the needle like at all.
Well, let's shift gears a little.
We're really kind of at the apex now.
We need to put the pedal to metal. We need to nail those hairpin turns, cross that finish line, and take that checkered flag. Woo!
Hit the track with the world's largest motorsports calendar, track day insurance, and more. Haggerty, let's ride together.
Introducing the first ever Mazda CX-50.
Why race? Because it's in our blood. A love of driving that pushes us as hard on the road as it does on the track. It's why we reinvented the roadster and put a piece of it into every car we make. It's why we refine, we think, and refine again. And it's why we'll always engineer to real parts on the engine. Not simply the engines on the engine. Why race? Why?
Welcome back to Formula Vee here as the 59th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs continues from Virginia International Raceway. Uncharacteristically, we've got a breakaway at the front. Brian Farnham has been able to hold off the challenge from behind, and Zachary Whitson also is deciding he's not going to battle with the guys behind him. He's going to try to set off and set sail and see if he can run down Brian Farnham. We're at the halfway point of this race right now. Battle is on for third. Andrew Thomas Abbott and Mitchell Ferguson nose to tail through the climbing S.
Bit surprised that these three were not able to make up any ground in Farnham. I was just watching as we were on break, sector by sector, matching the pace of Winston, Abbott, and Ferguson all by himself, which means he's just fast, doesn't need the draft to be able to hit his marks. Winston, Abbott, and Ferguson, for some reason, couldn't coordinate the three-way. You see earlier when it was just Winston and Ferguson, they could. I don't know if that's just Abbott struggling to sort of find those opportunities, or maybe three is just more difficult to coordinate than a two-car train. But they need to figure this out, and I think Zach Winston finally said, okay, guys, I'm going to hit sector 1. If you guys figure it out, if you can stick with me, great. If not, I'm going. I think he just pulled a tear off there so he can see going down the back straight. But he's trying. I mean, he's still, it's now up to 3.5 seconds from Farnham back to Zach Winston.
Just about equally spaced. You can see they are closing right up. Those two behind, Ty Abbott and Ferguson drafting together. We'll run down Zach Winston. Right on his gearbox once again as he comes through Hogpen. Hogpen has been a tricky spot. We've seen a couple cars. Look, it's Zach Wilson stalling on the wheel coming down that left with that right-hander. Very treacherous turn, and all of them searching for water to keep those tires cool as they go through the puddle.
Yeah, I had talked to Andrew and Zach Winston before the race. They had said even in these conditions, you can get a lot of heat in these tires. In fact, they ran a race earlier this year at Pit Race. Tires came back just cooked purple because they actually got them overheated in the mixed conditions because of so much sliding. I think that's what's happening is they come down Hog Pen, all that slip and slide, they go and hunt for a splash of water to try and keep them cool. So they've got some grip going through one. You can see that that bit of a slip and slide may have certainly cost him a spot. Now Andrew Abbott in front of Zach Winston. That's running wide over Winston. There's a lot of mud out there. He's going to give up a spot to Mitch Ferguson. These guys keep making mistakes one corner after another, but the one not making mistakes is far enough out front.
Yeah, he's just driving a clean race and getting the job done at the moment at least. So Andrew Thomas Abbott now leading this parade for second place honors. They work their way under the bridge. See Brian Farnham stretching his advantage as Andrew Thomas Abbott leading the way, but Zach Winston, just as he left our camera shot, went side by side with Mitchell Ferguson trying to take that spot back. Brian Farnham closing up on the back of a slower car. Then we turn our attention just behind that, Russell Fredericks and Trevor Carmody leading a trade of cars, including Steve Winston, Jeffrey Vallejo, Downey Isley, Siebenaller up into 5th spot now. I think that's him at the front of this group.
Yeah, he's definitely the engine in this train, but the rest aren't going to go very far because even through these climbing S's, the draft continues to pull. You'll watch the second, third car in the train get closer and closer as they go around 9 and head to South Bend here, this fast left-hander. And then just kind of throw it in, not walking all the way out. Don't want to touch that curb out there in these conditions. Siebenaller, again, a 3-time champion in this class, been in this field now for over 30 years. He knows what he's doing around these things. He's seen every kind of condition and doesn't mind being in front of the train.
Fredericks in the red 23 right behind him. Zebra livery on Trevor Carmody's number 7. Steve Winston. Winston family colors, yellow and green. Side by side just behind it, Jeffrey Vallejo and Donnie Isley. Isley going to the outside. Here comes Carmody also getting alongside Fredericks, but then he falls back in single file. Steve Winston kind of in the rocking chair there in the middle. Those two behind will catch up to him. Roller coaster into Hogpen, a very tricky turn. Oh, look,
speaking of tricky,
yeah, he absolutely saw it at the wheel. That's going to cost him some momentum. This group of cars not necessarily hunting for that water like we saw from the lead group.
So that number 7, Trevor Carmody, he is the second-gen racer there, son of Roy Carmody, who's actually gone into the Vee Hall of Fame this year.
Oh, and we got a car off again. That's the number 19 of James Brookshire. We saw him go off earlier. He's into the grass once again.
Oh, wow, a little contact on his way to the grass.
Absolutely. He had a touch with the 74 car of Stuart Delaney. That was right at South Bend, I think.
It looked like it, yeah. They were coming down. That's a lot more contact than we've seen. These races are very clean. Let's see, make sure that clears itself. The last thing our leader wants right now is a full course yellow.
Brookshire, one of the rookies out in Central Carolina's region. Perhaps didn't quite anticipate enough clearance. Siebenaller has broken away just a little bit from his battle behind Russell Fredericks. Steve Winston, Trevor Carmody, battle behind him, Donnie Isley and Jeffrey Vallejo. Isley with the advantage right now in that blue number 30. They climb the hill towards the double apex right-hander at Oak Tree. Puff of smoke out of Siebenaller's car, like the brake lock. Behind now, the lineup. Look at them snake into single file, knowing that that's how they're going to run down the leader. There goes Whitson as he pops on the outside of Russell Fredericks. Side by side as they climb the hill to the crest on Madison Avenue. Downhill plunge once again. Back uphill at the braking zone for the roller coaster.
It's a delicate balance to try and be fast coordinating, and what you're seeing here as the 23 of Fredericks and Steve Whitson try and coordinate, they're not quite as precise as Siebenthaler is by himself. So while they can gain a little bit on the back straight, as they get into things like hog pen or maybe down through the 1-2-3 complex, they're just not quite as smooth as driving by themselves, which can explain a lot why Brian Farnham, our leader, is also be able to pull away from the group behind him, because it's just easier to hit your marks and be precise. Yeah, you'll lose 4 or 5 miles an hour on the straight, but you're gaining all those places where precision matters.
Carmody going for the pass on Steve Whitson. Now making it 3 wide is Donnie Isley as they head down into turn number 1. Little puff of smoke out of Siebenthaler's car on downshifts. He's blowing a little oil out of the tailpipe. These are air-cooled Volkswagen motors. Anybody who's ever owned an air-cooled Volkswagen knows nothing unusual.
Well, they are often called oil-cooled.
Exactly right. Well, they are actually.
Yeah. Yep.
I had a 911, air-cooled 911 back then. It was the first car I ever had where you had to buy oil by the gallon because it's got a big dry sump lubrication system, and oil is a very vital part of cooling it.
Yeah, why I mentioned is, Siebenthaler was coming down the roller coaster, how much it matters to be by yourself and the marks. Watching that pack behind him to try and come through turn 1 and struggle because they just couldn't quite figure out who should lead into 1 because they all thought they would and give him the old, hey, follow me, but it doesn't work when you're 3 wide because you watched Siebenthaler able to pull away.
There's our leader, and he's got traffic in front of him. And right at the tail end of that group of cars that we were following is Alex Scaler. He's just now coming back into the camera shot. We'll see if Scaler has got the pace. On the last lap, he was at 219. The guys in front were in the 220. So Alex Scaler, remember, was one of the leaders in the early stages before he spun off. And he is working his way back inside the top 10. 15 of Brian Farnham with a 5-second lead. Almost a third of Formula Vee for the car to be able to break away. So Farnham came at this with a vengeance, wanting to, redeem himself and thumb his nose at sports car who didn't pick him to finish on the podium. Andrew Thomas Abbott and Zach Whitson going side by side in turn 1. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, he definitely has that chip on his shoulder. When I talked to him a couple of days ago, and they were talking about how much work they've put in and the time and the effort, you could just see in their faces that they were calculating everything they were about to do heading out for their qualifying session. And it was the mom that said, that sports car didn't pick him. I just looked right at Brian and said, what does that do for you? He goes, it's a little motivation.
A little extra motivation. Yeah, that's great. Big battle for the bronze and the silver right now. Thomas Abbott holding off Zach Whitson. Look at this battle as Russell Fredericks going inside Siebenthaler. Siebenthaler riding around the outside. Fredericks skips it sideways, but he maintains his position. There's Carmody right there to pick up the pieces. Steve Whitson right behind him. Yep, Alex Scaler has caught
made his way into this.
And there he is, right behind Steve Whitson.
Very aggressive young man.
He's got a little red mist, I'm sure, going on as he's kicking himself for that mistake in the early stages. Doing his best to make up for it.
I mentioned earlier about Trevor Carmody's father, Ray, getting into the Vee Hall of Fame this year's class, including also in this field, Stephen Davis, the number 80. Inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, and Lisa Noble, of course, getting in this year. So very big honor for those three, for this crowd, this big family that is the Vee group. They all recognize the accomplishments of those that have come before, and I'm sure someday some more of the folks who are watching here will be into that Hall of Fame. It's a very cool honor.
The late great Bill Noble, of course, part of that family up there as well. So looking forward to that induction. Just great. This is classic Vee racing. Siebenthaler and Carmody out in front just a bit over Russell Fredericks. Here comes Steve Whitson. Alex Scaler here dueling with Donnie Isley. Jeffrey Vallejo right there as well. There's Scaler alongside Isley. We're going to make it 4 wide down the straightaway here in just a second.
Scaler going to try and find a spot because he would love to get by. He knows he's quicker generally. These guys are certainly in a place like roller coaster, but there's just nowhere to go.
Side by side into roller coaster, that does not work usually. Russell Fredericks has to fall back in behind. Donnie Isley all the way up into that top spot in the 30.
Big slide coming down there. Might have been Isley. Big twitch.
While in front of them, Ferguson and Siebenaller have pulled just a little gap on this group, but it won't last long. As we're getting into the closing stages here, working race lap 13. So next time by, the white flag will be in the air. Roger Siebenaller still out in front of this group for 5th.
Yep, so yeah, with Siebenaller still leading that train again. Once you watch them go 3 wide behind them, they just slow themselves down. Yeah, they can be fast in a straight line, but they get to turn 1 and they just can't seem to figure it out. Scaler, though, just says, I want to pick up every spot that I can. And he's picked up a few, but now he's working on the back of, is that Fredericks?
Yep, Fredericks in the red car. The yellow of Steve Whitson falling all the way to the back of this train as Jeffrey Vallejo has gotten around him. As I misspoke, we have 2 laps left, and we're working race lap 13. So we'll be starting the penultimate lap next time by. Here goes Scaler alongside Fredericks. They come into the climbing S's, and Scaler ducks in front.
Scaler now is going to have a pretty good run up these S's uninterrupted. And he'll take a look and see if he can catch Donnie Isley up there. Oh, big slide though for Scaler. Oh, he's throwing that car around at this point.
Tail out. Come into Hogpen, Oak Tree. The smoke out of the back of Scaler's car as well. Perfectly normal. Yep, absolutely. nothing to see here. Move along. Look at the 3 up in front. Siebenaller still out in front, but Carmody just behind him. Donnie Isley up there in that 6th spot, or 7th spot, excuse me.
Steve Whitson back there making a pass down the back straight. None of these guys able to coordinate enough to catch Siebenaller. He seems to be the consistent one, leading this train. And now repass coming back from the 29 of Vallejo. Not quite able to make that work. Steve Whitson holding that spot. Again, for Whitson in the field. Like there's a Whitson in every camera shot.
Just about. Carmody coming under some serious pressure from Donnie Isley now. This is as high as Isley's been in this race, and he just good run down the inside. Will cost him just a little bit of momentum, but he knows to pop right in behind, take advantage of the draft. And Scaler's going to get the double draft here as he is side by side with Donnie Isley.
Backs out.
Yeah, but backs out of it. Isley dives to the inside of Carmody down into turn number 1. He's alongside, still there. Carmody out in the what would normally be the quick part on a damp racetrack, but he's a little far outside. Isley able to hold on to the position, but that's allowed Scaler to get up. Here comes Carmody trying to take it again as they go through NASCAR. Now heading into the left hook in turn 4. Meanwhile, Siebenaller getting away up at the front.
He is, but Zach Whitson and Andrew Thomas Abbott have gotten it down to about 3.5 seconds, so we're not completely ignoring that. We know it's there. If it gets any tighter, we'll go back to it. But this battle of these 6 or 7 cars is a lot of fun to watch. This is just classic V racing, swapping corners, every little opportunity for a short straight, a little bit of draft. And now Scaler able to use that to get on by Isley. Now he's going to see if he can catch his good friend Roger Siebenaller. Again, Roger loaned his car to Alex for the 2020 runoffs at Road America. Alex didn't bring it back in full form, so there's a little bit of a grudge there. But we'll see if the experience of Siebenaller now is going to fight against his good friend Alex Scaler. As Roger, a little bit of slip there going under braking. That's going to bring him right into the clutches.
Oh, he goes wide. Roger's off into the dirt, and he's going to spin right in front of Fredericks, but able to avoid it. An uncharacteristic error by the veteran Siebenaller. As here comes Brian Farnham all by himself out of Medina, Ohio. Right across the line, imperious in this race. What a surprise. Usually these Formula V races are nail biters right down to the last. But this one, Farnham well out in front, but this battle for the silver and the bronze is not yet settled.
Farnham was the runner-up last year to Andrew Whitson. Andrew Abbott was 3rd last year. He's up in this battle again, but Farnham wants that redemption. He wants that top spot. Tired of being the bridesmaid out here. And Andrew Thomas Abbott has been in the top 3 a couple of times. Back in Road America 2020, Andrew Thomas Abbott was 3rd. And as I mentioned, he was 3rd also last year at Indy. So wants to not be on the third step. He would like to move on up a spot if he can. We've already seen a multi-third time finisher once earlier in a race today. I don't think Andrew Abbott wants to be the next one.
So with that spin by Roger Siebenhaler, Donnie Isley takes over that 5th spot, but Alex Scaler right there with him. But as we follow this battle for second, it is a dandy. As we are on the final lap of this race.
Yeah, watch the chess match. This is where the play comes in for Andrew Abbott. He has been watching the back of Zach Whitston the entire day, and they've run against each other many, many times in the past. Now it's calculating to say, can I get a good run off of Oak Tree? That's a good run if you're Andrew Abbott.
Yep, you bet. As Zach Whitson went just a little bit wide, Abbott is right there. He's going to pop out early. I would have waited maybe just a bit.
You don't want to lose momentum, but yeah, I wonder if this is going to take a double move.
Yeah.
What if he thought it was too early? You see him kind of tucked back inside, climbing the hill. And now we watch the defensive line will go to the right side of the track for Zach Whitston. That's where you want to hold the line going into the roller coaster. If you start moving too far left, you give up that side. You'd rather give the competing driver a difficult line on the left. He's able to hold it here. We'll see if there's anything now for Andrew Abbott coming down the roller coaster at Hog Pen. The final line of the stripe to see who gets the second spot.
You can see Whitson's head moving back and forth, checking his mirrors, trying to see where that red car is. This will be a critical corner here, as Whitson does a pretty good job. He's been fighting that car down through Hogpen, but out in front, Brian Farnham getting the job done. Vengeance is his, as he will take the win. Big fist pump for Brian Farnham as he'll take the checkered flag for his first national championship.
What a run. What a run. He just dominated this race. No one had anything for him, but we're not done at the back here. The battle for 5th is still hotly contested among these three.
It's Carmody side by side with Donnie Isley, and there is Alex Scaler right there in the light blue car, and then right behind him is Russell Fredericks.
That's of Andrew Whitson.
That's Andrew Whitson, who had spun off all the way to the tire barrier, and here he comes. I'm sure he fell back well outside the top 10.
Yeah, I thought he was about 10 seconds behind this battle. Apparently not, as he's got a shot now of a top 7 finish. Look at this.
And he's going to draft his way up into the position. What a great recovery drive for Andrew Whitson. He was all the way back to 25th on lap 2.
To 5th.
And he finishes in 5th spot. My goodness, the drive of the day so far. Andrew Whitson, my goodness, I would never